What if I told you that one of the most profitable luxury brands in the world doesn't want to sell you their most famous products? Hermès makes over 15 billion euros a year with margins around 40%, some of the highest in the industry. Their most iconic piece is the Birkin, a handbag created in the 1980s that has become a global symbol of wealth and exclusivity. Yet, estimates say annual Birkin production is only in the low tens of thousands, often cited at around 12,000, far below global demand. And even then, you can't simply walk into a boutique and buy one. Why would any company choose limits when the market wants more? By the end of this video, you'll see how Hermès's refusal to sell has become its most powerful growth strategy, and how you can apply the same principle to your own business. Now, imagine what it's like to walk in ready to spend, only to be told you can't buy the product at all. That tension between wanting something and being told you can't have it is at the heart of what makes Hermès so unusual. This is the paradox of refusing customers. The company's most famous designs, the Birkin and the Kelly, aren't casually available to anyone who asks. In fact, showing up and requesting one directly often signals you may not be the kind of client offered access. Hermès doesn't operate on a universal written rule. Instead, they structure access around relationships and selective allocation. In practice, sales associates prioritize customers who have built a buying history and a long-term rapport with the store. Access isn't framed as a transaction, but as something earned over time. From a consumer's perspective, this feels counterintuitive. In most retail settings, the moment you demonstrate clear intent to buy is when the business closes the deal. At Hermès, however, direct requests are often discouraged. What matters more is whether you've been consistently supporting the brand by purchasing other items, whether scarves, belts, shoes, or even furniture, before a sales associate might consider you for one of the coveted bags. In some regions, especially in Asia, this process has even taken on a local term, pei huo. The phrase refers to buying a mix of products to build purchase history before gaining access to an iconic item. Critics see this as manipulative, a way of forcing customers to spend more than they intended. The company, on the other hand, positions it as a method of managing scarcity and balancing demand across its collections. What may feel like pressure selling to some is, in Hermès's explanation, about maintaining fairness in allocation and reinforcing the prestige of its rarest products. This rationing of access doesn't repel demand, it magnifies it. Being told "not yet" doesn't reduce desire, it amplifies it by suggesting that ownership itself is a privilege. This strategy is sustained by intentionally tight supply. Annual Birkin production is widely estimated in the low tens of thousands worldwide, a tiny number compared to demand from millions of buyers. Each bag is handmade by a single artisan, a process that takes roughly 20 to 25 hours from start to finish without division of labor. That deliberate pace ensures quality, but also guarantees that scarcity is baked into the system. This balance of supply and denial has even led some observers to describe the model as a form of dark marketing. By controlling both production and allocation, Hermès restricts access in ways that make the items feel even more rare and desirable. Wait lists can stretch months or years, which only deepens interest. For buyers, finally being offered a Birkin or Kelly is less a mere purchase and more a symbolic initiation into a select group. In that sense, the value lies not just in the object, but in the journey one had to take to reach it. For entrepreneurs and business owners, the lesson is striking. We're used to thinking of growth as removing obstacles, faster service, wider distribution, more promotions. But Hermès proves that carefully applied friction can do the opposite, creating stronger emotional investment. Customers aren't just spending, they're aspiring, proving loyalty, and building identity through their persistence. It transforms a one-time transaction into a long-term relationship. And here's where the model turns even more unconventional. If refusing eager buyers and capping supply builds demand, what replaces the massive marketing spend that most companies rely on to stay visible? What Hermès does instead defies the standard playbook. Most global brands pour billions into ad departments, celebrity sponsorships, and glossy campaigns. Hermès takes another path. The company invests far less in traditional advertising and spreads marketing responsibility across the entire organization. Hermès allows every point of contact to embody and reinforce what the house stands for, from products to stores to the artisans themselves. Step into a boutique, and the difference is clear. No giant posters of celebrities, no billboards screaming for attention. Instead, a scarf might be displayed like artwork, or an artisan may stitch leather in front of you. The store is part cultural space, part retail, designed to immerse you in craft and heritage rather than push a product. Employees guide visitors through the philosophy of the house. The experience itself becomes the advertisement. The same approach drives their broader projects. Exhibits like Le Temps, Un Objet Hermès frame timepieces as an art installation, asking viewers to reflect on time itself. Objects for interior life presented home goods like gallery pieces. Even the Hermès-designed Apple Watch strap became less about technology than about cultural relevance. Each initiative communicates perspective instead of chasing short-term sales. Competitors keep shouting louder with bigger campaigns. Hermès chooses silence. That absence of marketing is its own statement, signaling that the brand's gravity is strong enough to generate demand without constant reminders. For entrepreneurs, the takeaway is simple. Marketing doesn't always need a massive ad budget. If your product has depth, let the product and the way it's presented be the marketing. Staff can be ambassadors, spaces can be storytelling platforms, and selective projects can carry more weight than endless ads. Doing less, but with intent, can outlast the noise. And the foundation of this strength goes deeper still, not in campaigns, but in how each item is created by hand. What happens when a company builds its entire production system around craft rather than speed? That's the core of Hermès's strategy, and the reason its products remain among the rarest and most coveted in the world. Hermès employs thousands of artisans, often cited at around 7,000, trained in-house through dedicated schools. New leather workers can spend up to 2 years on fundamentals, and several more before being trusted with the house's most iconic bags. This investment means Hermès isn't chasing quick output, but cultivating skills that resist shortcuts. Once trained, an artisan makes a bag from start to finish. From cutting and preparing the leather to stitching seams and setting hardware, one person carries the process through, often 20 to 25 hours of meticulous work. Because no two hides are identical, each piece reflects unique choices made by its maker. Most of the industry optimizes for scale by dividing tasks and streamlining production. That lets them double output when demand rises. Hermès refuses that trade-off. Instead of automation or mass outsourcing, they expand slowly by opening workshops and training more craftspeople. Scale is capped not by materials or capital, but by the availability of highly trained artisans. That structural choice creates scarcity that no marketing gimmick can fake. Customers know the constraint is real, and that authenticity underpins Hermès's sky-high resale values. Some models even appreciate over time. Craftsmanship here isn't just an aesthetic principle, it's a financial engine. For entrepreneurs, the lesson is clear. Limits can create value. When a product requires time and uncommon skill, the very delay becomes part of its story. Customers respect that it cannot be mass-produced without losing its meaning. Most companies think advantage comes from speed. Hermès proves there is power in moving deliberately. And yet, sustaining this philosophy in a volatile industry presents its own challenges. When economic shocks hit, most luxury brands push harder for sales. Hermès takes a different route, showing how controlled growth itself can be a form of resilience. When luxury markets face downturns, Hermès shows that restraint can be a stabilizer rather than a constraint. While many houses struggle with shrinking margins, Hermès continues to deliver strong results. In 2024, revenue reached 15.2 billion euros with an operating margin above 40%, over twice what most brands manage in a slump. The difference lies not in aggressive expansion or advertising, but in controlling the pace of growth. Hermès doesn't chase every sale. It protects stability through discipline. Take their retail presence. Hermès operates around 300 stores worldwide, far fewer than Louis Vuitton or Gucci. Each location is deliberately chosen in neighborhoods with long-term potential and a context that supports exclusivity. Unlike rivals who rushed into dozens of new markets, especially in Asia, where oversupply led to closures, Hermès expanded slowly. Fewer stores, better service, and loyalty built client by client. A new boutique isn't just another outlet, it's part of the brand narrative, reinforcing patience and scarcity. The same philosophy guides their digital presence. Rivals push nearly everything online to chase scale. Hermès takes the opposite route. Scarves, ties, and small leather goods are available digitally, but the iconic Birkin and Kelly remain strictly in store. The process stays personal and ceremonial, reminding customers that access must be earned, not clicked into a cart. Contrast this with competitors and the trade-offs are obvious. Oversaturation makes luxury look commonplace, forcing discounts that weaken brand equity. Hermès grows only to the level that scarcity can sustain. By controlling both production and sales channels, it keeps demand and supply in balance rather than pushing one far ahead of the other. What looks like restraint is actually strength. Artisan-led production limits, selective retail, and a careful online policy create a model that is premium and resilient. Even when the wider industry contracts, Hermès thrives. For entrepreneurs, the lesson isn't to avoid growth, but to shape it. Expanding slowly, preserving scarcity, and focusing on the right customers can turn volatility into advantage. Hermès proves that luxury doesn't come from chasing more. It comes from the courage to say no. By limiting supply, elevating craft, and controlling access, they turned restraint into power. For entrepreneurs, the takeaway is simple. Sometimes the smartest move isn't to sell faster, but to make people wait. So let me ask you, what in your business could become more powerful if it were rarer? Drop it in the comments and subscribe if you want more unfiltered breakdowns of the hidden strategies behind the world's most powerful brands.